I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Go home, surgeon. Bury your dead and go home. This isn't your war.
It is now.
Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video, and this was actually a PayPal request from a Walter. I'm not sure if he wants me to say his full name though. He didn't mention it, but his first name is Walter, just in case. And he wanted me to do a review of Death Before Dishonor. Now, this is a film I remember seeing once or twice back in the day. And I was curious to give it a watch again because it was on YouTube for free. And, you know, sent the request in. And I would say after watching it, I liked it. I thought it was a decent action film. Nothing remarkable, nothing extremely memorable in the vein of other 80s action movies, but I think if you like 80s action films, it's worth at least a watch. I like the lead guy, Fred Dryer, who he was famous for this TV show I haven't seen but I've heard of called Hunter, and this is one of the few times he got to star in a movie. He stars as the Gunny. Pretty much the guy who is leading these kids at a U.S. Marine recon school. Whether he leads to another, he is hired by his buddy, played by Brian Keith, who's the colonel, to work Marine security for this U.S. Embassy base in the Middle East. When he leads to another, Brian Keith is kidnapped. Him and another are tortured, and Fred Dryer is going to try to get him out of there. And these two other guys try to help him. One of them being Sasha Mitchell. Yes, from Step by Step. He would be in the Kickboxer sequels, at least a couple of them. Not the fifth one, but Kickboxer 2, 3, and 4. And he'd be in others. And that's the story. Deal with these terrorists, these bad guys. It's sort of a version of the Delta Force in a way. Granted, I would call the Delta Force much more memorable because of the musical score. Da, 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 just as a combined Chuck Norris and Lee Marvin. And then Robert Forster as the villain. I mean, Delta Force has a lot more up its sleeve than this movie. But this does have its nice moments. And what I mean by that is you get a typical action movie with a typical story of terrorists in the Middle East. You badass good guy. And it does have its problems. The pacing does drag from time to time. There's this female photographer. Her whole little subplot story was unneeded. You honestly could have completely taken that character out of the movie. In fact, I think it would have helped matters. The terrorists, the bad guys, you either don't have recognizable actors be, oh yeah, it's not that, or the characters themselves are very weak. Again, when you have weak villains and stuff like the photographer lady being a pointless character, unneeded, stuff like that does drag the movie down. But it does have its moments. Like I said, Fred Dryer definitely had that presence. I would have been open to him being a leading man in other action movies. I like the stuff at the beginning where he's training these guys and these two new recruits and he's calling them shipbirds. And then for this initiation, he puts like a little medal on them that they passed and like presses down on them, and everyone like presses them down on them so it starts bleeding, but the medals are definitely in there. So it's moments like that, or like this family is killed early on by the bad guys and it's pretty bloody, including the mother gets shot in the back multiple times. I mean, it's very nice bloody practical squib shots in this. The action scenes are competently handled, and that's because it's Terry Leonard. Terry Leonard, this is a guy who's very famous in the stunt world. I mean, I believe he's the guy who doubled, or at least worked on the Raiders of the Lost movies. I want to say he's the guy that doubled Harrison Ford in that scene where he goes under the truck and is climbing on the front of the truck. I believe that's Terry Leonard. I could be wrong. Might be someone else, but I know he worked on those movies. Terry Leonard, if you know anything about action films and stunt work, that name is mentioned a lot. And I believe this is the only time he got to direct a movie. But yes, because the film didn't do anything, it's fairly forgotten. That's why he didn't direct again. But again, not that bad of a first job in direction. I mean, the action scenes are handled. You get some decent car chases, which your good guys driving down the streets in a Jeep. You got some badass moments, like he's chasing these bad guys, and he tips his windshield down, and he gets a fucking bazooka, and just blows the fucking shit out of the bad guys while driving, and a bazooka in his hand. I'm like, that's a badass motherfucker. It's a bam, bam, B-A-M, badass motherfucker. You see that? He's a bam. That's what bam. See, that should be a new thing. Bam. What's a bam? Badass motherfucker. It's bam. So excited, just bam. It's bam here, bam there. But so moments like that were cool. It was nice to see Paul Winfield, who I remember as a cop in the original Terminator. He's been in other stuff too. He's here as an ambassador. Brian Keith, I've seen in other films, including Hooper, my favorite Burt Reynolds movie. So I thought he always has like a nice little personality, and when I see him in a motion picture. And like I said, there are moments that stand out. Like when some characters get tortured and one of them gets his hand drilled by a fucking drill. And then someone's able to get the drill and jam into a guy's chest. There's certain moments of 80s badass. Like when the photographer's like, this isn't your war. It is now. And you can say, yeah, that's a cliche line, but I love that type of dialogue. I love it's like, yeah, fuck, it is now. Fuck, yeah, bam. And you get some good shotgun fun. Pretty much anytime when Fred Dryer was doing his stuff and it concentrated on him, or the bad guys being vicious, like the opening killing of the family that was at this other embassy, the torturing but with the drills, that's when the movie worked. And like Fred Dryer did some shotgun fun, some nice squibs. You get the rescue at the end. The way the bad guys get killed is different. I liked that. It was a good stunt work with the Jeep. And yeah, this is one of those movies that's very straightforward. Like I said, negatives, weak villains. Character-wise, nothing to run home about. Very forgettable. Acting-wise, good luck remembering them 5 minutes after the movie's done. So that hurts the film a lot. Because you don't have a recognizable actor that give a presence or just any presence with these. And the movie itself didn't do that much of a job. Yeah, very forgettable villains. Useless characters like the photographer lady. Again, take her out. I think it actually would have moved even a faster pace. But Fred Dryer did a nice job in the leading role. The score, I'd take it or leave it. Not memorable, but not awful. Again, I'd take it or leave it. Love the title of the film, Death Before Dishonor. Such a good title for an action movie. I like to say you want a badass lead, some shotgun fun, some good little action set pieces. Nothing too drastic, sadly, but still very competently handled for what they had to be. A straightforward 80s type of action flick where the good guys are the good guys and the bad guys are the bad guys, and maybe you call it jingoistic or America fuck yeah, but sometimes that's what you want to see. Some blood squibs, some shotguns, some badasses, a little bit of fist fighting, some nice stunt work. It's worth a watch for any 80s action fan. It's never going to be a classic. I guess it's not the most memorable. Like I said, the weak villains and some useless characters, plot points, which would have helped move the movie a bit of a better pace. So sometimes the film does drag because of that, sadly. But yeah, there's enough moments. Like I said, when he's initiating his 2 new recruits, or the torture with the drill, or the killing of the family at the beginning, or some of the surprisingly bloody violence, or nice stunt work handled by, of course, Terry Leonard. I could say I liked the film. I don't know if this has a Blu-ray. I know it has a DVD. I don't know if it's in print, but I don't know if this does have a Blu-ray. If not, it deserves it. I think it's worth having a Blu-ray of this out there. There's so many worse action movies than this. Again, you want just an old school 80s action film, yeah, it's worth a watch. And Fred Dryer, again, I haven't seen the TV show Hunter, but based on this, he definitely had a nice presence. I believe he used to be a football player before he became an actor. I forget what team. It was the Rams or something. I forget exactly what team, but I believe he was a football player before this, which is interesting. By the way, thanks for watching. Take care. Thank you once again, Walter. Hopefully this review was alright. It's for free on YouTube. Just type in Death Before Dishonor 1987. You'll find it. Again, fun little watch. At least compared to a lot of action films or films in general in today's age. It's nice to sort of take a step back and see even a little known film like Death Before Dishonor can have some fun, little teeny memorable moments scattered throughout it. A generic plot, generic villains, but enough spotlight moments that made it worth a watch. But thank you and have a good night. See you guys later.